Chapter 15. In foreclosure, why go for a judicial sale? Beats me. How should I know? Why, in a foreclosure, go for a judicial sale? And the answer is, if the property is worth less than the debt, because the petitioner can sue the borrower on his personal covenant for the difference. Oh, really? Oh, really? This is called a judicial sale. In a foreclosure, we'll go for a judicial sale. If the property is worth less than the debt, and the petitioner can sue the borrower on his personal covenant for the difference. In a foreclosure, Chapter 15 question, why go for an order absolute? Order absolute. And the answer for order absolute is, if the property value is equal to or greater than the debt, the petitioner can keep any profit. But the petitioner cannot sue the borrower on his personal covenant. If the property value, we're talking about an order absolute here. If the property value is equal to or greater than the debt, the petitioner can keep any profit, but the petitioner cannot sue the borrower on his personal covenant. If the property value is equal to or greater than the debt, the petitioner can keep any profit, but the petitioner can sue the borrower on his personal covenant. Chapter 15 question, what is a quitclaim deed? What is a quitclaim deed? Well, a quitclaim deed is where the borrower gives his claim or interest in the property back to the lender. This is where a borrower gives his claim or interest in the property back to the lender. What is a quitclaim deed? This is a borrower gives his claim or interest in the property back to the lender. Chapter 15 question, what is an agreement for sale? What is an agreement for sale? Well, an agreement for sale is a title does not transfer upon completion. It stays in the original vendor's name until the final payment. Okay? But the buyer can move in, though. So what is a agreement for sale? This is where the title does not transfer upon completion. It stays in the original vendor's name until the final payment. Chapter 16 and 17. When you are doing a market value question, number one, when would there be 4 steps to the formula? And the answer is when there's no term. When there's no term, then there's 4 steps. And for a market value question, when would there be 5 steps? When there is a term. When there is a term. All right? And what in a market value question? What would there be 4 steps to the formula when there is no term? Right? When there's no term. And when would there be 5 steps? When there is a term. And when there is a term, you got to do the outstanding balance. Usually it's 60, because 60 is 5 years. Sometimes it might be 36, which is 3 years. And then you go input, pink key, amort, equals. Then you go, if there's a term, for a market value of the offer question, you would go input, pink key, shift, amort, equals. Yeah, and then you get the answer. Chapter 16 and 17, again, when the question asks you, what is the market value of the offer, what must you remember to do? When the question asks you, what's the market value of the offer, what must you remember to do? And I think it's add the cash, right? Is it? Add the down payment. Whoa, add the down payment. When the question asks you, what is the market value of the offer, what must you remember to do? You must add the cash, add the down payment, add it. What is a bonus mortgage? Chapter 16 and 17 question, what is a bonus mortgage? And the answer is, bonus mortgage, where a bonus or fee paid to the mortgage, broker or bank is added on to the mortgage loan, and this amount is used to determine payments, yet a lesser amount is advanced to the lawyers. Oh, wow. What is a bonus mortgage? It's when a bonus and fee is paid to the mortgage broker or bank. It's added to the mortgage loan, and then this amount is used to determine payments, yet a lesser amount is advanced to the lawyer. Chapter 16 and 17 question. In a bonus mortgage, what is the disclosure rate? In a bonus mortgage, what is the disclosure rate? Disclosure rate. And the answer is it's J1. It's the annual. In a bonus mortgage, what is the disclosure rate in a bonus mortgage? Disclosure rate is J1, which is annual. J1, annual, J1, annual. Chapter 18. What areas do these federal government departments control that licensees should be aware of? Number 1, Department of Fisheries. Yes, activities around the water as do not harm the fish or the water. And number 2, the Department of Transportation restricts heights of buildings around airports. What areas do these federal government departments control the licensees should be aware of? Number 1, Department of Fisheries, because they control activities around the water so not to hurt the fish or their habitats. And then 2, the Department of Transportation restricts heights in and around airports. And I think they got the harbors too, but I don't know which department it is. Chapter 18 question, what is the agricultural land reserve? That's where my father's farm used to be. What is the agricultural land reserve? And the answer is it restricts the use of certain land bigger than 2 acres for agricultural purposes. That means you have to use it for agricultural purposes. So what is the agricultural land reserve? It restricts the use of certain land over 2 acres for agricultural purposes. And my dad knew that he was buying 5 acres in the ALR, the Agricultural Land Reserve, but he kept complaining about it. So stupid. Does he think he is special and he can get his special piece of property out of the ALR? No, he never did. But the land did increase in value because it's farmland. And they can grow blueberries or something, or raspberries, or purple berries, or tonic berries. Chapter 18. Who do you apply to for partial or complete exemption from the Agricultural Land Reserve? Who do you apply to for partial or complete exemption from the Agricultural Land Reserve? And you can apply to the Land Use and Environment Committee. Why didn't my dad do that? I don't know. Land Use and Environment Committee. Who do you apply to for partial or complete exemption from the Agricultural Land Reserve? You can apply to the Land Use and Environmental Committee, the LUEC. Land Use and Environmental Committee. Chapter 18. How many regional districts are there in BC? I think it's 30, right? There are 30. Holy frickin', I'm so smart. How many regional districts are there in BC? 30. Dirty 30. Chapter 18. The provincial government delegates some of its powers to the local governments. These powers are set out in what act? And it's called the Local Government Act. Wow. The provincial government delegates some of its powers to the local governments. These powers are set out in one act, and it's called the Local Government Act. Local Government Act. What is the only municipality in BC that does not derive its powers from the Local Government Act? What is the only municipality in all of British Columbia that does not, I repeat, does not derive its powers from the Local Government Act? And the answer is City of Vancouver. It's regulated by the Vancouver Charter. It's the City of Vancouver is not governed by the Local Government Act because they've got their own Vancouver Charter. Those snobs. Anyway, chapter 18. Let's just keep going. It's mandatory for a municipality to have an official community plan. Do municipalities have to have an official community plan? And the answer is no. But once one is in effect, all bylaws, permits, and all works undertaken must be consistent with it. Yeah. Is it mandatory for a municipality to have an official community plan? And the answer is no, but once it's in effect, all bylaws, permits, and all works undertaken must be consistent with it. Chapter 18, what are the 3 rules that apply to a legal non-conforming use? What are the 3 rules that apply to the legal non-conforming use? And number 1, it's if is discontinued for more than 6 months, it loses status unless it's seasonal. If discontinued for more than 6 months, it loses status unless seasonal. Number 2, it cannot add on unless allowed by the Board of Variance. Cannot add on unless allowed by the Board of Variance. Number 3, if damaged by 75%, it cannot be rebuilt. If damaged by 75%, it cannot be rebuilt. That's all, folks. What are the 3 rules that apply to the legal non-conforming use? 3 rules are, number 1, if discontinued for more than 6 months, it loses status, unless it's seasonal. You know what I mean? Number 2, you cannot add on to your, you cannot build extra building if, you can't on your property, unless it's allowed by the Board of Variance. And number 3, if it's damaged by 75%, you cannot rebuild that thing. And there is another rule too, number 4, which says basically that you can extend within your, if you've got a building, you can expand within the building. Within the building. Chapter 18, can a Board of Variance change a zoning bylaw? Can a Board of Variance change a zoning bylaw? And the answer is no. They can only permit minor variances. Can a Board of Variance change a zoning bylaw? No. They can only permit minor variances. Chapter 19. What's the formula to figure out property taxes payable? What's the formula to figure out property taxes payable? Well, we've got tax rate times the net taxable value divided by the $1,000, which is the mill rate. That is equal to the gross tax payable. Again, we got the tax rate times the net taxable value divided by, these both are divided by 1,000, which is the mill rate, and that equals the gross taxes payable. And again, what is the formula question? What is the Chapter 19 question? What is the formula to figure out the property taxes payable? The answer is the tax rate times the net taxable value, and these 2 things are multiplied by 1,000, the mill rate. That is equal to the gross taxes payable. Chapter 19. When you receive your tax statement and you don't agree with it, can you appeal it? When you receive your tax statement and you don't agree with it, can you appeal it? And the answer is no. You must appeal it when you receive your your assessment notice. Once you receive the statement, you must pay. When you receive your tax statement and you don't agree with it, can you appeal it? No, fricker. No, you must appeal when you get your assessment notice. Once you receive the statement, you must pay. If you don't agree with your assessment notice, what is the order of appeals? If you don't agree with your assessment notice, what's the order of appeals? Chapter 19. And you go to the Property Assessment Review Panel. Then you go to the Property Assessment Appeal Panel. Then you go to the Supreme Court of BC and the BC Court of Appeal. All right, so you go to the Property Assessment Review Panel, Property Assessment Appeal Panel, Supreme Court of BC and BC Court of Appeal. If you don't agree with your assessment notice, what's the order of appeals? You go to the Property Assessment Review Panel, you go to Property Assessment Appeal Panel, Supreme Court of BC and the BC Court of Appeal. So the Review Panel, the Appeal Panel, the Supreme Court of BC and BC Court of Appeal. Review Panel, Appeal Panel, and Supreme Court of BC, BC Court of Appeal. Chapter 19. Who is eligible for the homeowners grants? Who is eligible for the homeowners grant? And the answer is nobody. Just joking. The answer is the residence owner living in principal residence, wholly or in part. Only one resident can claim this grant. So if a renter is living there, the owner cannot get the grant for that property. Really? Wow. This is the homeowner's grant, the residence owner living in principal residence wholly or in apart. Only one resident can grant the claim the grant. If the renter is living there, the owner cannot get the grant for that property. Who's eligible for the homeowner's grant? Well, it's the principal residence, the residence, principal residence, and wholly and apart. Only one resident can claim this grant. It's got to be the residence owner. They got to be living there. If the renter's living there, then they can't get the grant. So it sucks to be them. Wow! Who qualifies for the old age homeowner grant? Who qualifies for the old age homeowner grant, Chapter 19? Well, number one, we got 65 years or older. Number two, disability allowance. Or number three, permanently disabled. Or number four, recipient of the war veteran allowance, like World War I, World War II, and Korean War. Wow. So what do we got there for the old age homeowner grant? That's for the 65 plus, number one. Number two, disability allowance. Number three, permanently disabled. Or fourth, recipient of war veteran allowance, like World War I or II or the Korean War. What about the Persian Gulf War? What about the Second Iraq War? What about, hey, I don't know. I don't know. Chapter 19, who can defer property taxes? The answer is Canadian citizens or landed immigrants who have lived in BC for at least a year. Number one, and they're 55 years old or older. Number two, they're widowed. Or three, they're permanently disabled. Who can defer property taxes? Canadian citizens or landed immigrants who've been in BC more than a year. And number one, they're 55 plus. Or two, they're widowed. Or they are permanently disabled. Oh, we feel so sorry for these people, don't we? Well. Chapter 19, what is value in use rule for property taxes? What is the value in use rule for property taxes? For example, if it's used in farmland, the assessor must consider the property value as what it is being used for, not its potential value. So it's, for example, it's presently being used as a farm. So it's used in farmland. The assessor must consider the property value as what it is, or what it's been used for, not its potential value, presently being used as a farm. Chapter 19. In property tax assessment, what is the special residence? What's a special residence? Well, this permits the certain residential properties to be assessed according to the value based on their current use. So, for example, the property that's stuck between two commercial buildings. In property tax assessment, what is special residential? And so this permits certain residential properties to be assessed according to the value based on their current use, not on, that they're stuck between two,